Welcome to the Deep Dive. We take the information you need to know and, well, boil it down.
Get right to the heart of it.
Exactly. Today we're cracking open the April 18th issue of the Ottawa Diplomat. Think of this as your cheat sheet, maybe?
Yeah.
For understanding some of the big headlines making waves right now.
Yeah, it's a really interesting issue. It gives us a kind of cross-section of the current global landscape, touching on, well, everything from pretty localized conflicts to potentially huge shifts in the international order. You know, the world's still feeling those aftershocks from the Clampett crisis.
Okay, let's unpack this then, because flicking through, you definitely get a sense of several big stories all kind of happening at once. We've got tensions flaring up in the western states, a really surprising development on the world stage with its sort of long-lost power.
That one's wild.
Isn't it? And then some familiar disputes bubbling back up, and even hints of major power realignments. So for you, our listener, we're going to break down the key takeaways from each of these articles, just so you can get a clear picture of what's actually happening and why it matters.
And what's particularly interesting, I think, is seeing how these things that seem separate, well, they might actually be interconnected.
Definitely.
Reflecting some of the deeper currents shaping our world, you know, right now in April 2025.
Absolutely. So let's jump straight into that first article, Violence Within Western States. This one, it paints a pretty unsettling picture, doesn't it?
It really does. What this violence highlights, I mean, beyond just the political division, is maybe a breakdown in the social contract there. The article ties these incidents to really deep disagreements about social values and, crucially, the upcoming presidential election Judgment Day on May 1st.
Right, that's looming large.
Exactly. And the fact that these ideological fights are escalating to, well, armed conflict, it suggests a pretty deep lack of faith in the usual institutions, the usual processes. That's a trend we're seeing elsewhere, too, in places dealing with post-crisis instability.
It's not just shouting anymore, is it? The article makes it really clear there's a chasm between these groups.
Vibe.
And mentioning weapons are involved, that just takes it to a whole other level of seriousness.
Precisely. Introducing weapons into protests like this, it always carries that risk of things escalating fast, maybe tragically.
Yeah.
And the fact that investigations are already looking into the planning, the response, it shows how seriously the authorities are taking it.
And with Judgment Day just around the corner, you have to think this kind of violence is going to have some serious political fallout.
Oh, without a doubt. The article points to how the candidates are reacting differently. You've got Bradley, who quickly and clearly condemned the violence.
Seems like a direct appeal to voters who want stability, social justice, maybe.
Yeah, it projects that image of leadership trying to de-escalate things.
But then Gillis, his silence, as the article notes. It's a bit confusing.
It is. Could be calculated, perhaps, waiting to see which way the wind blows, or trying not to alienate, part of his base.
But isn't there a big risk there, appearing indifferent to violence this close to the vote?
Well, that's the gamble, isn't it? That silence could be read as a lack of leadership by a lot of people, no matter their politics.
Right.
And it puts even more pressure on that upcoming debate.
Exactly. The article said that debate was already key, but now it feels absolutely critical. This is their chance, Bradley and Gillis, to address these worries, clarify where they stand, and try to reassure people who are probably feeling pretty anxious.
Yeah, it really raises the question for both of them.
But
can they show the kind of leadership voters are looking for in this volatile environment, how they handle this violence, or, don't? It could really be the deciding factor come May 1st.
Okay, let's pivot. Something completely unexpected now. Article 2. Spiderian Empire returns. I mean, that's a headline you don't see every day.
You certainly do not. The initial reports, right, the Spiderian Empire seizing Rome, that understandably sent shockwaves.
Yeah.
An ancient empire, everyone thought they were gone, suddenly pops back up and takes a major capital. It's almost like mythical.
Yeah, straight out of fiction. But then the story takes this really weird turn. The Sense of Right Alliance makes an announcement.
Right, and for listeners maybe not fully up to speed, the Sense of Right Alliance, that's a major international political and security bloc.
A big player.
A very big player. And they announced that the Spiderians haven't actually invaded, but have joined the alliance as a new member.
Joined them after seizing Rome.
Apparently so. It's a complete reversal of what everyone feared. And then they described them as, get this, a race of humanoid arachnids.
Humanoid arachnids. Wow, okay. So the immediate panic probably dies down a bit, but I'm guessing there's still a lot of uncertainty, maybe apprehension.
Oh, absolutely. The fear of invasion is gone, sure. But integrating something so drastically different, these humanoid arachnids, into a major global power block, that raises a ton of new questions.
Like what?
Well, what can they do? What are their intentions, really? How does this change the existing power dynamics? It's a lot to process.
And the Alliance is calling this part of a new global order. That's a pretty loaded phrase, isn't it?
It really is. Historically, you hear new global order during times of major power shifts.
Right.
Bringing in a completely unknown entity like the Spiderian Empire, it suggests maybe a radical shakeup of alliances, moving beyond just nation-states. This could have huge implications. Trade, security, everything. The world's going to be watching this very, very closely to see what this new global order actually means in practice.
Okay, moving across the globe to the Pacific now. Article 3. Merchants League and Hawaii. This sounds like a classic he said, she said situation.
Exactly. You've got the Indonesian Sultan making some pretty strong accusations, saying the Merchants League basically took Hawaii by force. He uses words like seized or stolen.
Strong words.
Very. And he's even suggesting Ronaldo, who, has had some interesting business dealings lately, was involved somehow, like a proxy.
That's a bold claim,
Yeah.
especially dragging Ronaldo into it. But the Merchants League, they're not exactly known for backing down, are they?
Not at all. They've pushed back hard with a firm denial, a completely different story.
What's their side?
They claim Hawaii actually asked for their help, their intervention and liberation, they call it, back during the Clampett crisis.
Ah, the Clampett crisis connection again. For anyone who doesn't recall, that was that period of massive global instability a few years back. Changed the map quite a bit.
Right, so the Merchants League is painting themselves as, well, saviors, not conquerors.
Their version is Hawaii was really vulnerable after the crisis and basically begged for their help to stop things falling apart.
That's their line. They insist Hawaii practically begged for aid and protection. They're stressing that they acted only to protect the island, its people, from all that post-crisis instability.
And there's even a direct quote in the article, isn't there, from a league spokesperson?
Yeah, the Kingdom of Hawaii sought our aid and protection. We acted in their best interest and with their consent. They're trying to frame it very clearly as legitimate.
Okay.
And they're hitting back, too, dismissing the Sultan's claims as totally baseless, accusing him of using Ronaldo to destabilize the region for his own gain.
So, two completely opposite stories. Hard to know the real truth just from this.
Exactly. It definitely shows how the fallout from the Clampett crisis is still fueling these kinds of international disputes.
Let's move inland now. Colorado. Article 4, Order of the Thorn in Colorado. Sounds like a potentially big military development brewing there.
It does seem that way. The Deseret government has sent the Order of the Thorn to Colorado, and the common thinking is this signals a joint operation coming up.
With who?
With the Colorado Legion, to try and retake New Bug-Tussle, which, as most people know, used to be Washington, D.C.
Right. And Deseret, for anyone unfamiliar, that's the theocratic state out near the old Great Salt Lake, known for its unique society and, well, forces like the Order of the Thorn.
Exactly. New Bug-Tussle has been under the control of Orcish forces and the Church of the Ozark Ascension for a while now, so any move to reclaim it would be a major shift in that region's power balance.
A very big deal.
And the Order of the Thorn itself is, well, interesting. It's an all-women armed missionary force from Deseret, known for deep religious devotion, but also serious military discipline. A unique mix.
Formidable, sounds like.
Yeah.
The article gives specifics too. Captain Eliza Kimball leading 120 sword sisters. That's a serious group.
It is.
And it mentions Ariadne Oakes is with them, granddaughter of the late Dallin Oakes, a huge figure in Deseret history, and she's the newest member. Joining this critical mission, that feels significant.
It probably carries a lot of symbolic weight within Deseret, yeah. Could help rally support for the operation, connect it to a revered leader's legacy. Her being there suggests this isn't just some routine deployment.
So yeah, sending the Order of the Thorn to Colorado really does look like a potential escalation. Trying to take back the former capital. It'll be fascinating to see if this joint op with the Colorado Legion actually happens and what the result is.
It'll definitely be a big test.
Yeah.
Can the Western states project power into a region that's still very much contested, controlled by these other factions? We'll see.
Okay, our next article takes us down south. A more localized conflict. Siege of Sireburg. Sounds like one guy facing some pretty tough odds.
It does. Riga's Firehand, his stronghold, the Fireburg, which used to be New Orleans, is currently under siege. The combined forces of Curzon Icewolf and Gelkash the Seer, Rigaz Firehand, he's been a player in some of the power struggles after the Clampett crisis.
And the article says he just suffered a big defeat in the Great Swamp, which weakened him and led to this siege.
Apparently so. That defeat clearly had major consequences, left him isolated in Fireburg with probably a much smaller garrison. Now he's facing both Ice Wolf and Gelkash. It doesn't look good for Firehand's survival odds here.
Really highlights how fragmented the Orcish territories still are, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
You see these alliances form, dissolve, individual warlords like Firehand rising, maybe falling. It's constant struggle.
Exactly. The Orcish horde is far from united. These
Yep.
internal fights keep shaping the landscape in the old Confederate states. The siege of Fireburg is just, the latest chapter in that ongoing story of shifting loyalties and power grabs.
Article 6 brings us back to New Bug Tussle. And a pretty ominous development. Dark portal in New Bug Tussle. Even the name sounds bad.
It certainly does. The Antarctic Stargate, which is now at that altar in New Bug Tussle, has been renamed the Dark Portal. And that name reflects the really unsettling nature of its recent activation.
How so? What's unsettling?
Well, the article describes the wormhole itself. It's this dark purple color, and it's got dark lightning coming off it with a sort of sickly hue.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely not your standard Stargate effect.
No, it's a major departure from what we usually understand about how these things work. The weird color, the dark lightning. It's understandably causing widespread fear. People are speculating about what's happening to the device.
And the finger points towards the Orcish forces and the Church of the Ozark Ascension, right? With their rumored interest in darker magic and weird tech.
Precisely. This corrupted activation, it just fuels those fears that they might be deliberately messing with the Stargate, twisting it for their own, possibly sinister reasons. That name, Dark Portal, really captures the bad vibe around this whole thing, the uncertainty about what might come out of it.
Okay, penultimate article, shifting gears again. Diplomacy, potential royal connections, Wu Dynasty and Anhalt-Dessau. Sounds like a potential power marriage could be on the cards.
It certainly looks that way. Duke Liam Wu of Guadalajara, his visit to Dresden has put Marie Adelaida of Anhalt-Dessau squarely in the spotlight.
And she's got quite the lineage.
Oh, yes. Niece of Ludwig IV von Anhalt-Dessau, grandniece of the late Hans Adolf. Anhalt-Dessau, it's lost territory recently, but it still carries a lot of historical weight, cultural importance.
The article even quotes a royal historian, suggesting a marriage between Duke Wu and Marie Adelaida could really boost the Wu dynasty's standing, create a strong alliance.
Exactly. Guadalajara is a serious power in Spain. An alliance with a noble house like Anhalt-Dessau. That could seriously boost their prestige, their influence in Europe. It's a strategic kind of move. Could have long-term effects on the regional balance of power.
But it's still speculation at this point. The article mentions maybe it's formal talks, maybe just exploring options.
Right, it's not confirmed.
Yeah.
But either way, just the visit itself has put Marie Adelaida on the map as a potential future Duchess of Guadalajara. It just shows, doesn't it? Even in this fast-changing world, these traditional ways of building power, making alliances, they still matter.
Okay, finally, our last article offers maybe a bit of hope in a totally different area. Yennefer Global Football Tournament. This sounds like something lots of people would get behind.
It does. A FIFA spokesperson announced this proposal, UNIFA, a truly global football tournament. And the key thing here is the ambition behind it.
How so?
They're pitching it as more than just a competition. It's a symbol of hope, they say. A step towards a new era for football where clubs from literally everywhere can come together.
And this idea is moving ahead even without Cristiano Ronaldo being involved right now, which, given his recent career changes, maybe isn't a huge shock.
Right. It shows the desire for a top-level global club competition is strong enough that it doesn't depend on just one player, even an icon like Ronaldo. The idea itself, clubs from different continents playing each other regularly, that has massive appeal for fans everywhere.
I bet. Fans worldwide are probably eager for more details. Which clubs? What's the schedule?
Absolutely. The prospect of a global event like this seems to have injected some real optimism back into the sport.
Yeah, a nice thought.
It really has. Rekindled those dreams of a truly unified international football community. Maybe a source of shared excitement in a world that often feels pretty divided.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the April 18th Ottawa Diplomat. We've covered a lot of ground.
We have indeed.
From the violence in the western states.
Yeah.
That stunning reappearance of the Spiderian Empire.
Still processing that one.
Right. To trade disputes in the Pacific, military moves in the Rockies, sieges down south, that ominous portal, potential royal matches in Europe, and, yeah, prospect of global football.
And like we said, these aren't just separate stories, are they? They feel connected, pieces of this bigger, constantly shifting global puzzle.
Right, definitely.
The instability in the West could ripple outwards, the Spiderian showing up. That forces everyone to rethink alliances. Even a football tournament reflects that broader desire for connection in a pretty fragmented world.
So with all these potential flashpoints, these surprising realignments happening all at once, it really makes you think, what single development we talked about today do you, our listener, think will have the biggest long-term impact on the world?
Yeah, good question. Is it the internal splits in a major power? The arrival of something totally unknown like the Spiderians? The lingering effects of the Clampett crisis? Or, maybe something else entirely?
This issue of the Ottawa Diplomat really does give a crucial snapshot of the forces shaping things right now.
It does. We hope this deep dive has given you a clear picture of these interconnected events and maybe a solid base for your own thinking, your own exploration about where things are headed.